So it's 2026, and you're wondering if a duplex is still a good investment here in Oregon in 2026. Well, 2026 is a unique year, and duplex is a unique and specific product. So let's talk about that today. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you how to analyze that question and how to come up with your answer. And I'll tell you what my answer to that question is as well.
I love this question, asking ourselves if a duplex is still a good and smart investment in 2026. Why do I love this question? Because first and foremost, I am still very much a fellow investor, just like you. I primarily think about building my own portfolio, managing my own portfolio, and that's really what I do. And it's from that was born the idea of me using a real estate license to help other people buy and sell investment properties, and specifically duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. So I'm asking myself the same question all the time. Is it still a good investment to buy a duplex in Oregon in 2026? I have conversations with friends and coaching clients of mine that are all over the country, and I will tell you how I think about it, and we can come to our own conclusions. The first question we need to ask ourselves is, well, we should kind of define what smart investment means. Or, in other words, what are the attributes of a smart investment? What makes for a smart investment? I'm going to give you four things that I think make for a smart investment. The first key that I believe is required for a smart investment is that you be investing in something that other people want to use and they're willing to pay to use. Okay, so you can see I have underlined the words want and use. So other people want to use what you have. That means there's demand from tenants who want to utilize the units in your duplex that you are going to buy and that you own, and they actually actively want to utilize those units. It's not that they're willing to, not that they'll settle for it. It's not that you could find somebody who might move into this unit. Other people are clamoring to live in this property in this particular area. So why is it so important that somebody wants to use your property? Because that's what dictates your ability to generate income. And your ability to generate income, whether you're going to live in one side or rent out both sides, is really, really important. If there are people who don't really want to use your property, you're already at a disadvantage. And so this introduces a key concept that I'm simply going to label as demand. It's good to control what other people want. You want there to be demand for the product that you have. And if there's not sufficient demand, that is a big problem. It's a fundamental problem of making a smart investment. The second thing, when it comes to making a smart investment, is that other people want to own what you have. They want to own. That doesn't mean that somebody else might buy it if there weren't any better options. It means that other people want to buy this property from you. Even if you don't want to sell it, it's a great thing when other people want to buy what you have. Because someday you are probably going to want to sell this duplex in Oregon, or you're going to want to refinance this duplex in Oregon. And if there aren't other people who want to be involved with that property, if there aren't other people who would love to take it off your hands, who would love to take it off your hands, who are lining up to buy this property from you, then you have another fundamental problem. It's really valuable when you have confidence in the resale market of your property. If you know that at any point, if you put it up for sale, there would be a line of buyers who are interested, that is a great, great thing. And it comes back to the same key concept, which is demand. We want to control what other people want. We want to be the ones who have the things that other people want to have. Because when we have that control, we have leverage. And the leverage is what makes smart investment decisions, smart investment purchases. When we buy something that nobody else may want, this is not going to be a good investment for us. The third thing that sort of is an attribute of a smart investment of a duplex in Oregon is that it meets your specific investment objectives. Your specific investment objectives are going to be different than my specific investment objectives. And they're going to be different than another one of my clients' specific investment objectives. And a person can have lots of different investment objectives. They could be primarily looking to create value by improving a property. We call this expandability. Like, let's say you bought a duplex that was kind of run down and had low rents, and you fixed it up, and it's no longer run down, it's in great shape, and it has high rents. That's a form of expandability. Buying a duplex in Portland where you could build an ADU in the back would be a form of expandability where you're adding value. You buy something for 475 and you put $50,000 of work into it, but now instead of it being worth 525, it's worth 600,000. That's a value add scenario. Other people have objectives like ease. They just want the most hands-off situation they could possibly have. Other people are looking for cash flow. Other people are simply looking for a place to live where somebody else pays for the highest percentage of the overall mortgage payment and expenses. And that's why they're searching for a duplex in Oregon, is so that somebody else can offset their expenses. So what makes a smart investment is that you don't take a one size fits all approach and say, is this a good deal or not? But you say, is this a good deal for me, given what my unique investment objectives are? The fourth thing that I'll share with you that makes for a smart investment is all about the financing, or all about the way the deal is structured. My mentor often says real estate is just the clothing that finance wears. Think about that. Real estate is just the clothing that finance wears. It means finance structures are the real substance of real estate, and it takes the form, it manifests itself as real estate, dirt, sticks, and bricks, but it's really financial structures. So if you're able to buy a property, a duplex in Oregon, with an excellent loan, for instance, or with a unique deal structure where the seller is going to be involved in, quote unquote, carrying back a portion of the financing, those things can make or break a duplex deal and make it a good investment or not a good investment. So for most normal people, shopping for your financing first is going to be the most important step. When a new buyer comes to me and says, hey, I want to buy a duplex in Oregon, can we start looking at properties? I say, sure, we can do that. But we also need to initiate a conversation with a lender. Let me connect you with somebody who can point you in the right direction, because until we know what your financing options are, we're really shooting in the dark in terms of trying to figure out what would be a great acquisition for you. I buy properties all the time because the financing structure is so good. I might be kind of lukewarm on the property itself. I'm buying a four-plex right now. I'm a little bit lukewarm on the property itself, but the financing structure is excellent. And that's the thing that makes this a smart investment for me with my unique investment objectives. So we've talked about now some of the attributes of what makes for a smart investment. But the question is a duplex still a smart investment in 2026? So the other part of this equation we have to assess is the 2026 part. What is it that's unique about 2026? Why is this question not just, is a duplex a smart investment, but it's a duplex is a smart investment in 2026? Let's have a look at what 2026 is kind of defined by for duplexes in Oregon. Right now, interest rates are higher than they were a few years ago. They're about the same, roughly, as they were a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. But compared to the heady days of the pandemic period, when interest rates were very low, things comparatively feel very high right now. And that is creating a situation where I think a lot of buyers are kind of wondering if they should wait a little bit longer to see if interest rates come down. But it's also creating an affordability problem, because if you had, say, $100,000 to put into a property and you earn $3,000 a month that could go towards a mortgage. Well, those two things don't buy quite as much as they did a few years ago. So interest rates are higher now than they were a few years ago. Currently, inventory is low. There's still not tons and tons and tons of properties on the market. Now, one could say, and I actually do believe, every property is for sale. If one could make a proposal to that seller that the seller prefers more than their current situation. But if we're looking at the normal real estate market, which most of us are, the inventory is still rather low overall. If you're in the Portland area, depending on where you are, yeah, there are still dozens of properties that are in the two, three, or four-plex range. Many of those will be duplexes specifically, but overall, it's not like there are thousands and thousands of options on the market. And overall, this market feels stagnant. A very technical real estate term would be weird. A lot of people feel like this market is just a little bit weird right now. It seems like people are in a little bit of a wait and see mode, and that is making 2026 unique as well. So let's put all of this together and help answer the question: is a duplex in Oregon still a smart investment in the year 2026? Let's apply the concepts we have talked about to answering this question. The first smart investment attribute we talked about is other people want to use what you have and are willing to pay for the right to do so. Do other people want to use duplexes in Oregon? Yes, they do. As long as, and there are caveats to this, as long as you're buying a property in a demand location and you're buying a property that is going to be perceived by the market to be a quality product, or you're buying something that you will turn into a quality product, right? So if you buy a duplex in the middle of nowhere, that's not a high demand location. So we can't say it's necessarily going to meet our standard of being a property that others are going to want to use. But if you do buy a property in a demand location, right, a town of demand, a part of the town that is in demand, a neighborhood that is in demand, and you present a quality product that matches what people want, then yes, we pass this test, making duplexes a smart investment in 2026. Let's look at our second standard. Other people want to own what you have. Well, my answer here is basically the same. Yes, a duplex is something other people want to own as long as you've bought this duplex again in a demand location, a place where people want to be as renters or as owners, and it's a quality product that they want to own. So again, we can't buy a piece of junk in the middle of nowhere and say, well, it's a duplex and it's in Oregon, so it's a good investment. That's too simplistic. We have to make sure that we're buying a well-located product in a well-located area. In fact, I would say when it comes to ownership, this might be the best time ever to own a duplex in Oregon because more first-time homebuyers are looking at duplex as well as even triplexes and fourplexes, but duplexes in Oregon for affordability, right? If you can buy a single family home for $500,000, that could be, depending on your financial situation, tough to afford. But if you could buy a duplex for $550,000, your cost per unit just was almost cut in half. And now you've got a couple $1,000s of income coming in off the other side. And it completely changes the affordability picture. So I would say it's a very smart investment to buy a duplex in 2026 because more and more home buyers who will ultimately buy your duplex from you when the time comes for you to sell it are looking at duplexes to own for affordability. Our third criteria is that it needs to meet your specific investment objective. So, does buying a duplex in Oregon in 2026 meet that criteria? Well, it certainly can. It certainly can as long as you are clear on what those objectives are and your search is focused on them. So, a lot of people do enter the buying process and say, I want to buy a duplex, but they're not 100% clear on exactly what's most important to them. They might have competing interests. They might be trying to serve too many masters, so to speak. So maybe they're kind of vague on exactly what the objectives and the prioritization of those objectives are. And then, secondly, they might not have a search that's really focused on those particular objectives. So, is a duplex a good investment in 2026 in Oregon? If it meets your specific objectives, yes, but it's up to you to be very clear on those objectives. And it's up to you having an agent who can act as a consultant and help guide you towards getting clarity on those objectives and then navigating towards them. Our fourth criteria that we decided was important for a duplex to be a smart investment in 2026 is that the financing or the deal structure has to work well for that property. Is that the case with a duplex in Oregon? Yes, it is. As long as you shop for your financing first, you get that order of operations correct, and you know what your financing options are first, so you can reverse engineer your search to fit that. And then, secondly, your agent understands investment deal structure. And I can tell you, most don't, simply because it doesn't come up in most of their cases. Most real estate agents are helping people buy single family homes to live in. They don't own a lot of their own properties either, like I do. I own lots of these types of properties, duplexes and whatnot. Your agent needs to understand investment deal structure in order for your duplex purchase in Oregon in 2026 to be a smart investment. How about with higher interest rates? Is a duplex still a smart investment in Oregon then? Well, yes, it absolutely is, as long as you have a proper perspective on cash flow and you have a long-term perspective. So what do I mean by these things? Well, a lot of people who want to buy a duplex in Oregon might have, read a book, watched a video, gone to a conference where they said real estate is all about cash flow. And so they come in and say, well, I need a certain cash on cash return. I need a certain amount of money each month. Focusing on cash flow is important because cash flow helps make your deal, your purchase, sustainable. If a property is upside down every month, it is only a matter of time until that stops working and the whole thing crumbles. It's not sustainable. However, if a buyer's focus is on having maximum cash flow and they have unrealistic expectations for what a duplex in Oregon can deliver in terms of cash flow, then they're setting themselves up for failure. And with higher interest rates are going to make for lower cash flow, right? Because higher interest rates make for higher payments. The rent is what it is, the payment is higher, the cash flow is now lower. So I meet a lot of people who say, well, I can't cash flow enough in Oregon, so it doesn't make sense. So I would say you have to have a proper perspective on the importance and the role of cash flow and not be too hyper focused on it as the only criteria that matters. And when you have a long-term perspective, you realize that the short blips, the short fluctuations, what happens this week and next month are things you have to deal with, but it's over the course of time that your investment will really pay off. I like to think of it like this. If you planted a seedling of an apple tree today and you came back next week and said, where are my apples? This doesn't seem to be working. And then you came back next month and said, where are my apples? This doesn't seem to be working. You wouldn't be having a long-term perspective. You wouldn't realize, as you should, that the tree is going to bear fruit, but time is the biggest ingredient. So we need to have a long-term perspective in order for a duplex in Oregon to be a smart investment decision given current interest rates. How about the fact that there's low inventory and kind of a stagnant market right now? Is a duplex in Oregon still a good investment decision in 2026? I would say yes. And I would say a couple of very important things. Sellers right now are not getting a ton of response, generally speaking, on their properties. So their ears are open. They have to be more amenable to hearing the proposals and offers of buyers because there just aren't as many buyers. And in general, there are fewer duplex buyers than there are house buyers. So if a seller is selling a house, they know 98% of the market is looking to buy a house. But if a seller is selling a duplex, knows that, 35% of buyers out there are looking for a duplex. So you as a buyer have less competition. Sellers' ears are more open. I would say these two things together make for an excellent investment decision for duplexes in Oregon. So let's bring it all together. Is a duplex still a smart investment in 2026? I would say, heck yes. It might even be a smarter investment than ever because of that affordability factor I mentioned. More and more homeowners, especially first time homeowners, are needing to buy small multifamily properties in Oregon like duplexes because that's the only way they can really afford to purchase a home at all. And yes, the fundamentals of demand, though, are not thrown out the door just because it's 2026. We always have to follow the fundamentals of demand, such as buying properties in a good location, buying properties that are quality or you can make quality, style, romance, those things matter. All else equal, if you own a property that looks like a 1972 box and right next door is a property that's functionally the same, but it's a gorgeous Victorian historic vintage property, a lot of people are going to lean towards the gorgeous historic Victorian property as renters, as buyers, because those things matter. Buyers are humans. And if their heart is saying, I like this one better than that one, those things matter. So the fundamentals of demand, like location, quality, style, romance, they always matter when it comes to making a smart investment decision. As I mentioned, look, I am first and foremost a fellow investor myself. I own a lot of these properties myself. And I will tell you the simplest vote of confidence I can give you about now, 2026, being a good time to make a smart investment decision in an Oregon duplex is that I'm buying these properties myself as well, right alongside you. So if I can be of help in your search for a duplex in Portland, in Oregon, in Bend, in Redmond, if you have something in the 2, 3, or 4 unit category you want to sell, something you want to buy, please reach out. You can call or text me at 503-869-7303. Send me an email. Check out my website, jeff at oregonplex.com. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.